Good afternoon, Danny. How you doing?
I am great, Coach Paul. How you doing?
Doing all right. It's another Thursday. Good to see you again. I am totally foobarred today as I didn't hook up my mic or anything, so I'm going naked.
All right. Well, you sound good. You look good. We're ready to rock and roll.
All right. So what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about brand and brand reputation and what that requires to really build.
All right. Well, maybe we should start out. What's the definition of a brand, Danny?
Definition of a brand. I don't know the exact definition other than it it being what people see and how they know who you are, what you stand for, what you sell, what you do. What's the official definition?
Well, I'll have to look here. No, your branding is who you are. It's who you are as a company, it's who you are as a business, and it's who you are as you. You can brand your company, you can brand your business, and you can brand yourself.
Absolutely.
Depending on which brand you pop out first, but generally the brand of the business is a reflection of the brand of who you are.
Absolutely. Because it all comes back to them core values.
Yeah, that's right. So that's Paul's definition of the brand.
That's great. That's perfect. Much easier than mine. Love it.
So I'm opening up a new business.
Mhm.
I'm like getting ready to roll. I'm going to introduce a new product. Where do I start with brand? I mean, how do I get it going?
Yeah, I think that first understanding your core values and then building a and create a brand story around that to really develop a narrative that can be shared, through social media, what you're going to put on your website or your landing page. And then you also don't want to forget traditional media like TV or print, depending on what it is that, who your audience is. And on that note, also know who's your who. Who
Who's
are
your
you going to market to?
Yep. Who identifies with your brand, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, when I think about brand, I think quality, right? So, what's the purse company? My wife always buys it. I can't remember the name. Not couture. It's can't remember. Anyway, apparently their branding is not that good.
Is it
uh,
Chanel? Is it? I don't know.
Chanel. Geez, I can't remember.
Anyways.
Anyway, so the quality of the product. Quality of product is a main part of the brand. How you engage your customer and what their buying experience is, what their use experience is, whether your company participates in ethical practices. Are you ethical?
Hope
Does
so.
your brand, right? Um, and then, of course, your reputation online, offline.
Mm-hmm.
Are you supporting a community? That all wraps around your brand. Again, it goes back to who you are and builds out the way people see you and your brand name.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And then once you understand all of that, to then have a consistent brand voice and messaging so that people aren't confused, because a confused mind never buys. And most of us get into business to get people to buy something, whether it's a service, whether it's a product, whatever it may be. But being able to craft that brand voice and that messaging is also key. And again, always goes back to them core values and everything else that Paul just touched on there.
All right. So we're going to build a brand,
Okay.
come up with a product.
Yep.
What's the product?
Okay. Oh, the product is youth serum.
Youth serum. Holy cow. I don't even
Yes.
need to brand that. If we found the fountain of youth, that's a self-branding apparatus.
I don't know. I was thinking of something. I was like, what's something I would buy right now? Youth
Wow,
serum.
you're already young enough. You can't get any younger.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
So, all right, great. So we're doing a youth serum. So as we build out, as we think about our brand, hold on one second.
Oh, yeah, you got some doggies there going crazy. Oh, they're singing. They're like, we want some youth serum. Youth. I'm probably making them bark more. Sorry. I don't know. What are some other products? I think youth serum's good. Beauty's good. The beauty wellness business is a multi-billion-dollar business. So I think I'm just going to stick with that. I wonder how he made his dogs be quiet.
Brand recognition. Apparently, my
I started singing to them, and then I was like, "Oh, I'm probably making them bark howl more. I should stop that."
once in a while he goes into a howl. That's my boy Blue.
Aw,
So
aw, Blue.
anyway, we were talking about starting to build a brand wrapped around a product, right?
Yes,
So
yes,
you chose youth serum.
yes.
So we're gonna go out and we're gonna build this youth serum, this magic potion number 9. I'm
Yep.
starting to.
And it's gonna be ethically sourced, and it's gonna be clean, so we know all that.
That's great. And then
Mhm.
so one of the things I'm gonna do next is I'm gonna figure out who am I talking to? So what's the problem I solve? This problem is people feeling old, looking old, all that. They want to feel
Mhm.
younger and look younger.
That's right.
So I'm speaking to probably the 50 to 150-year-old market. And
We're gonna get there. That may be me. We'll see.
well, based on the product, we will get there. So,
Okay, okay, yeah, yes.
so what's my next step? What do you think?
So we know who our target audience is, and then we should ask them some questions. What it is that they're looking for, what type of products they currently buy, why they buy those things. Just really understand their needs, wants, desires, so that then we can start to build a marketing campaign around that um, answers the questions that they may have inside their mind. And the only way to really get inside a person's mind is to ask them the questions out loud.
Yep, that's right. So some good surveying to figure out our target market and how we're going to communicate with them. And then I'm going to put myself out on social media using my own product, showing the
That's
reaction.
right.
I'm going to get some social proof. I might use a test group. That's
Mhm.
probably a bad term, test group. No.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, a group of people who are willing to test it out to show that here's my before of my and here's my after.
Mhm.
Yeah, right.
Yep. And I might want to start showing up at community events, maybe some events wrapped around elders, wrapped around all those arenas to start showing myself and my product in the positive, supporting elderly groups, supporting education wrapped around health and wellness,
Right.
and start building because this youth serum isn't going to be a magic bullet, a one shot thing. It is going to have to be coupled with probably exercise or uh,
Yeah,
healthy
healthy
eating
diet.
or that stuff. So I'm going to start building my brand around the health space
Mhm.
so that I am showing youthful healthiness, even though I'm an old fart.
Yes, yeah, because that does really, it it does come from the inside. So when we eat well and we take care of our bodies, we take care of our meat suit, it won't rot, and therefore the youth serum will be able to be applied and yes, make us look better. It's also, the health and wellness space and the beauty space is a multi-billion-dollar space. So there's lots of room there, yet that also means that there's lots of noise. So how do we stand out from the crowd, Paul?
Well, there's a couple of ways to stand out from the crowd. Being that this is a youth product, I'm
Mhm,
gonna probably want to wrap my brand around some pretty famous people. I'm gonna want to
mhm,
work my way into an influencer marketplace on social media so that I can get some representation of some pretty solid actors or singers or actresses around there to rep the product. So as I build towards that, of course, I have to have revenue flow so that I can afford to pay for these people to rep my
Right.
product. It's not magic. They don't do it for free. But at the end of the part of my marketing plan or my brand plan is to be identified with those people, right?
Yeah.
So now we talk about that. That's global thinking, right? But
Mhm.
at first, you're going to have to be local with your brand. So
Great
it's
point.
much easier from the standpoint and less expensive, and you build out. It's like when you drop a rock into a pond
I was thinking the same thing, the
and
ripple, yeah.
you ripple out from that point. One of the
Mhm.
big things that comes with not only building the brand but is monitoring your brand, how it's
Mm,
being used, how people are talking about it, making sure that you are involved in those conversations so that you're representing the brand and you're maintaining brand control. Also, you don't want
mm,
anybody else stealing your brand, so you want to monitor for that so that you can manage it. So trademarks on your brand are extremely important.
mhm. Wow, trademarks are a bleep to get. But important, especially for the fountain of youth. Um, yes, absolutely. Starting locally, so even going to those local beauty places, taking your product with you when you're going to the gym and talking. I've met so many women in the women's bathroom and talking business, not just beauty, but business. It's amazing. It's a great place to meet people. And but yeah, take it with you. Be all about your product. Be your biggest champion for your product. And to me, that is that pebble to drop into the waters that will start that ripple. And then get those testimonials, get other, like Paul said, get people talking about it, get people videoing their testimonials so that you can put that on to social media. And then who knows, maybe like a Jennifer Aniston or all those women who have beauty brands could then be interested and may want to try it. You never know. But because if somebody doesn't know you, they can't flow you. And always assume that nobody sees your social media posts. So it means that you should be posting so much more, but also adding value, not just buy, but also here's how this has helped. What have you done to keep your meat suit looking healthy? What type of recipes do you like? Here's some recipe, so you want to give value that's wrapped around your space while also being front and center about your product.
My biggest takeaway from this is meat suit. All right. So
That's what I call it. Yeah, honestly, Paul, I know our body is our temple and all of that, which is truth, absolute truth. However, if I think about it as my meat suit, I truly take much better care of my body. Because who wants rotten meat? Not this girl.
wow, we got Brandon to meat soup. All right. So, I don't know where else to go with that. Are there any other things that we should be thinking about when it comes down to
Oh,
the initial release of a product and branding?
well, yeah. I mean, there's PR. There's a launch plan that could go along with that. There's blogging. There's white papers that can be done. There's scientific studies. There's print ads. I mean, there's a ton of things. So having a strategy in place, you always want to take action, but having some sort of strategy in place for how you're going to roll it out to market is huge. So you don't get into a bunch of busy work and actually not get to where you want to go. And maybe Paul, you can speak to that since you are the operations guru.
Well, yeah, I would definitely the strategy. There's levels of strategy, right? You need to get from point A to point B before you can run to point D.
Mhm.
So, from the strategy of with this particular product being the example here, is strategy number one would be to attack the local market with this. In fact, I have a client right now who's releasing their own product, and we're talking about the brand and how to develop the brand. And immediately, she's based in New York City, and immediately the 10-block radius is where we're starting. It's a
Mhm.
um, it's a guerrilla campaign. Grassroots is a better term. Uh,
Mhm.
Campaign.
Is she knocking on doors?
Well, no, she has a store. She's branding a very specific product
Okay.
from her store, and it's a grassroots to build a second location 10 blocks down, start building it, and
Mm.
then continue building their own brand, and then also leveraging Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, um, TikTok, to start showing the impacts of her product,
Mhm.
and building out the clientele at the store who are also going to be involved in social media to start, you know, talking about the brand, how great the brand is, what's different from her brand than the competitor's brand, and all that stuff. And just like I said, drop in the rock. It's right local. It's starting to work its way out through the customers, through testimonials, and start building brand awareness locally, statewide, nationwide. Build it out, and at some point, um, she will become the brand name. She's the right person to be the face of the brand.
Mhm.
So it's got a story behind it. The story is so
Mhm.
much. There's a vision because of the story. So, and we're kind of mapping it out. At what point are we going to do what and involve what? When does PR get involved? When does a broader social media entertainment strategy get involved? Uh, and
Mhm.
and those are literally revenue points. When they hit this revenue, then we're going to expand the marketing to hit this. And once it hits this revenue, we'll expand the marketing more to hit this. Once we know the fire is burning, once
Mhm.
we know the fire, once we know it's going to hit critical mass, then we're going to pour the gas to it. So
Gotcha.
understanding
Cool.
revenue points that you can expand, that you have the amount of gas in the tank to make that next jump is very key in growing a brand from scratch.
Mhm. I love that, that she is her story. So, and I think I know who it is that you're talking about, but I'm not positive. You mentioned her earlier in another meeting we had. So, very exciting. And then I assume that she's to because another thing that you can do by going out into your community is also holding your own events. By holding your own events, then you can hire photographers and videographers that then feed into your social media that then can continue that ripple effect as well, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And I mean, ultimately, the most important underlying piece of that plan is your
Mhm.
brand continuity.
Mm.
Is understanding the problem you solve, who you solve it for, and having continuity with that message and your brand's behavior. I'm going to say brand behavior. That's
I was just going to ask. Yeah. Let's dive into that a little bit more about brand behavior.
um, there are a few brands out there today that had a specific behavior and an expectation, and I'm not going to mention names, but there was an expectation of this is what this brand is going to do, what this brand is about. I support this brand. They're catering to exactly why I support them, and
Mhm.
then they shifted out of it.
Mm,
Price, okay,
mm,
and they lost half of their customers because of those shifts because they
right.
didn't hold on to their continuity, to the people they were talking to, the people who bought the brand, who believed in the brand, and they shifted
Mhm.
away. And what they didn't realize is that 50% of their market was on one side of that shift, and 50% of the market was on the other side of that shift. If they would
Mhm.
have maintained what they were, then everybody loved them because they weren't
Mm,
involved. But they made those shifts, And you can see it in a few brands. Bud Light would be one, Disney would be another, Victoria's Secret would be
Victoria's
one,
Secrets, yeah.
very clearly. So brand continuity is is extremely important, and we're learning that uh,
Mhm.
in this message or in this day.
Okay, so let me ask you, with the brand continuity and the examples that we just gave, those are big
Mhm.
companies. As you're starting out, as we were kind of saying about building a brand, having a product, how to, going from your community and have it ripple outward, um, there's going to be a little give and take, right? So at what point, because you're learning what and who, who your audience is, but still it's still going to be a little bit fluid. We're not like, here's my audience, this is it, end of story for the rest of the brand's life. No. So it's going to grow and expand. So is there a breaking point that you think that continuity comes into play? Like, is it at the 1 million point, the 3 million, 500 million, or
Well,
no, it just
I
depends?
think your continuity. I mean, most of these brands started out of the garage, right?
True,
Disney
true.
Disney is a great example of Walt. He couldn't get a business to work before
Mhm,
he got Disney going. It was a couple of business deals that worked, but he was very specific on providing high quality content for children, right?
mhm,
That was who his brand was. So
mhm.
that's the continuity. He never stepped away from that. Okay.
So almost the foundation of the brand
Foundation of the brand.
becomes continuity, right,
Yeah,
right.
it's remember where you came from, right? Remember
Yeah,
who you serve and serve who
yes,
you serve. And I think
yes.
that does stay all the way through a brand. Um, you
Mhm,
bring people into that, the envelope opens and more people come into it. But hardcore shifts in brand strategy and brand continuity can create tsunamis of people leaving
yeah.
your organization, not buying your product. That's the report card, right?
Yeah,
Hey, that's the
totally.
report card. The report card is, are people buying your product? If you make a shift and you lose 25% of your revenue, you just got
Mhm,
a big old F on your report card.
yeah,
Okay. And that's
yeah,
the key. So be who you are.
yeah. Love that.
I think that's the most important piece, especially if you're branding
Yeah.
yourself, branding your company, branding your product, be who you are.
Mhm, mhm.
You
And I think in this day and age, it's also we truly it is different than when we were growing up. You truly are your brand,
Mhm.
just as a person, just to as you show up on social media, as you really are branding who showing the world who you are. And so I just think this is such an interesting time and such an interesting shift, and glad I didn't grow up here. Glad I'm here now. Because they would have seen me spinning in my bedroom all the time. Wonder Woman, Wonder Woman, or Bionic Woman. Doo, doo, doo,
Oh,
doo,
there you go.
doo.
Absolutely.
But yeah, yeah,
All right.
awesome.
So the
You know me, I got to bring some fun into
oh
this
yeah,
late life.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome.
So
Okay, so key takeaways. What do you think the key takeaways of today were? Go ahead. You summarize it this time, Paul.
all right. Well, I think my key takeaways are make sure the dog is totally cared for without so he doesn't start singing the blues downstairs. So apparently he got lonely and started singing. Taking away is be who you are in your brand. Um, make a plan. If you're going to brand, if you're going to create a company, a product, um, make sure you have a vision behind it and understand who you serve, who you want to serve.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Know your values, know who you are, know what you stand for, be consistent, keep showing up, be you, be loud, be bold. You got
Be
this.
you. Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm going to go take care of the
Okay.
dog.
Take care. All right. So much fun. Great to see you. Until next time. Peace out, everybody.